Everyone has a bright light inside of them that deserves to be seen by the world. That's why it's time to shine the light on the extraordinary who are accomplishing phenomenal things. This is the Shine Out Loud Show with Lillian Obogo.
Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever in the world that you are. Welcome to another episode with me, Lillian Obogo. I am so excited as I have one of my favorite people on the show today. This woman is, I will describe her as the world's busiest and most dynamic woman. When she makes a decision, the world step back and get out of her way because she's coming through. Her passion and driving force right now is to get women speaking and owning bigger stages, getting women speakers into those kind of stages and spaces that they only dream of occupying but never taking that step. She is a speaker, a celebrated world-class MC, and the owner of the World-Class Female Speakers Academy coming up. She is one of those people that I have to say I am just really humbled to be around and I admire deeply. So join me and welcome the incredible Lovelda Vincenzi.
Hey!
Hello.
How you doing?
I am good, Mrs. Vincenzi. How are you?
I'm great. I'm not used to being introduced. That was like awesome.
I try.
Oh, you did more than try.
So let's jump straight into this. When I describe you, I talk about you as a speaker, and an MC. You're the one that is front and center of any event. You're the face of the event once they come into the room, and you set the tone for the day. What made you get into MCing and speaking in general?
Well, I love a stage. So that's probably the first thing. I kind of grew up on stages. I did ballet, I was in plays, I did dance recitals. So I loved that kind of thing. I was also into debate. And so I like having those sorts of discussions. And I kind of stumbled across kind of getting back into speaking. And I went down the normal path of deciding that I'd speak about a topic, but I couldn't decide what I wanted to speak on. I was like, I don't know what I'm that passionate about that I want to speak on. Right. And so what would happen is I would pitch for a speaking gig and then perhaps they'd be overly subscribed. And so I would take the lower role of MC, or at least that's how I thought about it at the time. Mm-hmm. And the first couple of times I did it, I just loved it. Don't get me wrong, it's insane. Everything was running late. Speakers would turn up at different times and the event organizers would decide they wanted to do something different to what we'd agreed before we started. But to me, I loved the chaos of it. I just thought, this is amazing. I get to meet awesome people and be a part of their journey and get so excited about them that I want the audience to get so excited about them. And I get to support event organizers and I don't have to fill the room. So to me, I was like, this is the best thing. I get all of the joy of hosting with none of the stress.
Well, I like the way you look at it. And, with that joy, you've actually turned that into creating one of the fastest growing groups on Facebook right now, bringing together world-class female speakers or women speakers to get them out of playing small and hiding their greatness on tiny stages. What sparked that?
Oh, I can tell you exactly what sparked it. I was emceeing an event at the beginning of the year called Extraordinary Live. And if you've never been to it, you need to go. It's run by a woman called Lenka Lutenska, and she is just phenomenal. One of my favorite events to MC. Anyway, she had a panel and I was moderating the panel and somebody asked the question. I don't even remember the question. Like that's how I was just focused on the answer. But somebody asked a question related to speaking, which was all very normal. There was nothing contentious at all about the question. And it was an all women's event. And I found myself on my soapbox for about 2 minutes, having a discussion with these women saying, look, I am sick of not introducing enough women on these stages. As an MC, I am introducing too many men. And I'm currently in a room of amazing, extraordinary women. All of you have a fantastic message. Why are you not on the stage? And so I think that was the original spark that started me going, seriously, why is this? So I found I left that event and that question was very much floating about in my head, like, why is it? Mm-hmm. And so about a week later, I put this something nothing post on my Facebook page, which frankly, up until that point, for the last like 9 months, had been used as a landing page for other people's content. So I was just being tagged in stuff, and because I wasn't really on Facebook, I was being tagged in stuff, and therefore it was coming up on my page. But I put this little post on that just said, why are there not more female speakers rocking the big stage? Mm-hmm. And it went nuts. I had about 200 responses to this one post. Bearing in mind I hadn't been on Facebook for like 9 months. I was like, okay, so seriously, there's something, it's not just me. And what I found really fascinating at that point was the differences in responses.
Right.
So some people said, oh, it's because, women have imposter syndrome, and I really couldn't buy into that. And some people said, oh, it's because the organizers only find men. And then organizers started popping up, and they said, it is just too difficult to find women. An organizer has to put in twice as much time or 3 times as much time to find a female speaker than they do to find a male speaker.
Right.
And I thought, wow, like this is insane. So on the one hand, there were all of these amazing women who were saying, nobody lets us on the big stage. And then there are these big event organizers who were saying, where are the decent women?
So it's like there's a whole distinction in the middle.
There is. So I've never been one for a mission, apparently. So it's quite bizarre that I'm now running one. But it occurred to me that, hold on, if event organizers are looking for women and there are extraordinary female speakers out there, then us ladies are doing something wrong in getting noticed. Mm-hmm. And it can't just be about the skill of speaking, which is what most of the speaking industry focuses on, like your signature talk and how to be confident on stage and where to stand and tonality and all of that stuff. And I'm not discounting any of that. It is absolutely important to have that down. But there's no point being a really beautifully polished speaker if nobody can find you.
Yes, this is true.
So a lot of the work that I do in the World Class Female Speakers group is helping women to see speaking as a business.
Okay, so you've done this, and you recently just completed a 5-day challenge, which you created for the women of this group. What was the 5-day challenge?
So it was a 5-day Get Speaking Gigs challenge, and it was basically taking them through a step-by-step process on how to find speaking gigs. Because that's the biggest question I get asked. Oh my gosh, how do I find the speaking gigs? Where are the speaking gigs? And so I talk them through how to look at what keywords to search for their particular topic, and a systematic strategic process to go through, which isn't particularly difficult, but it shows it as a prospecting business activity versus just kind of sitting and going, oh, where are the gigs?
Okay, so you were very systematic in the approach that you took them through from the beginning to the end. And what's the one thing that most women are missing when they start prospecting to the end of that cycle? What does that life cycle look like?
Girl, where do I start? There were a few things. So I think I was really flabbergasted to learn how few women have actual video footage or a presence about them. So there's the marketing. Mm-hmm. So when you're prospecting, eventually somebody's going to say to you, can you send me something to show me what you're doing, or send something across? And how few women have something to send beyond some words that say, here's the title of my talk, or I generally talk about female empowerment or whatever it is. But actually to really get to the big gigs and get taken very seriously, you kind of have to look the part, and that's not like your physical appearance, but your digital appearance. Yes. So when I go on your website, does it tell me you're a speaker? And the number of women who were just like, oh, yeah, I forgot to put that up there. Well, that might be a starting point. Do you have any footage of you doing your craft? And often there's none. Is there a show reel? Is there a description of your talk? Do you have professional photos? Just the marketing collateral that has you look the part. Mm-hmm. And then secondly, it's a fear of having the sales conversation that I don't want to bug them, and Or I don't want to be pushy. And what do I ask for in terms of price? And the same way that you could have a beautiful product in a shop. So you designed an amazing dress, but if you don't tell people about it, you don't take decent photographs of it, and you don't take it out places and market the thing and talk to people and tell them a price and see if they want to buy, it doesn't sell itself.
This is true. This is true. So you have to take it to market and put it on display.
Absolutely. It's the same thing. You're delivering a talk, and it's the same sort of thing. The other interesting distinction I found, and I don't think this one is necessarily limited to women, was the view that I have my main business and speaking is my side gig. And that may very well be true. But I think what I really want to challenge women on is speaking is a potential marketing opportunity into your business when done well. Right. So there's no reason that speaking has to be this sidelined orphan child that you're not that interested in, like the black sheep of the thing. Like, I do this speaking thing, but it's not that important. I'll put a pin in it and come back to it later. Because here's the thing. If you go to a networking event, you have got to get around to everybody in that room to have a conversation with them. Mm-hmm. If you get on a stage at an event, you're put in a position of authority where the audience now immediately, by virtue of the fact that you're speaking from the stage, believe that you have a degree of credibility because the stage gives you that. Mm-hmm. You get to connect and speak with everybody in the room and tell them what you're about. And then you just collect the leads off the back of that. And that is surely a much more effective and efficient way of lead generation into your business than turning up at a networking event. So there is the view where marketing can absolutely, or speaking even, can absolutely be used as a lead generation tool and a marketing tool into your business rather than being sidelined as a side gig that you sometimes do. If you think of it that way, it can be a very strategic move to grow your business.
Okay. So not only are you doing this with a 5-day challenge, you actually have an event to celebrate and award women speakers coming up on the 1st of June. And this is what I want to talk about, because you decided that we needed more bigger and better events to have women front and center. So what is this event about, and what's the full name of it?
So it's a female speakers conference because myself and a lady called Anique Petru, who runs Speaker Express, are putting it on, and clearly we're just not that creative. So it is what it says on the tin. And so Anique runs Speaker Express, and she very much focuses on the craft of speaking and teaches business owners how to craft a signature talk that allows them to sell more into their business.
Right.
And myself as a speaker and an MC, I have a real passion for getting people on stages. And because I'm so busy, everything I do is systemized and automated all the time and leverageable. I love leverage. So what we're wanting to do is combine those two things to say, okay, firstly, let's explore this idea of why there aren't more women on stage. But secondly, and more importantly, let's start empowering women to market more, get more comfortable with selling, understanding their price, know how to do PR, actually be these marketable entities that when event organizers like myself and Anique are looking for female speakers, we're spoilt for choice rather than digging deep to see who we can find because our marketing does not allow us to float to the surface and be found.
And so you're creating the best of both worlds. You're celebrating those who are on the stage at the moment, and you're creating a bigger pool of women speakers that you can pick from down the line for other events and actually for other event organizers.
Absolutely. Win, 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 win.
I like it. I so like it. So we're talking about the event coming up. Where's the event going to be?
So the event is based in London. It's near Liverpool Street, sponsored by NatWest. So we'll be using some of their office location for it, which is brilliant. They have a beautiful space that we're so excited to be at. So it'll be in London on the 1st of June.
Okay. And so people should look out for your website to find out a bit more. And actually, you're gonna drop the information slowly. I mean, we still have a bit of ways between now and June.
Oh, absolutely. There's loads of ways to find it out. It's on my Twitter, on Anik's Twitter. So I'm at Lovelda Vincenzi. Or you can join the a world-class female speakers group on Facebook, and there'll be a ton of information on there. Pre-register for the event, and you'll get access to the best early bird prices. There's a tip for you.
Awesome. So don't forget, you can pre-register to get yourself the early bird ticket prices. You want to get in for a good price, so you might as well. And it doesn't cost you anything to pre-register, right?
No, pre-registration is absolutely free. You just get to get notified when the tickets go on sale and get access to the best prices.
Awesome. So we're also talking about being a speaker, the job or the act of being a speaker, an MC, a panel host. What would you say to somebody who is coming up behind you saying, this is something I want to do, I don't know the first steps, but how does one become a panel host? How does one get on, panels? How does one start the journey of saying, I want to MC? What's the first step? If you're giving someone who's never done this before, what's your top 3 steps for them to take?
Oh, girl, that's a hard one. I think first and foremost, there's 3 things. I'm never going to discount getting your skills up. So learning the craft of speaking, learning how to control your voice, learning how to use your voice box. If you're wanting to do moderating, then absolutely learning how to select interview questions. So anything around journalism, watching interviews yourself. If it's being an MC, then it's understanding how to read a room. It's being incredibly comfortable in your own skin, because it takes a lot of energy. And the more you're you, the more you give other people permission to be themselves and show up. Speaking and MCing are not things that can be learned by themselves in a classroom. You get good at it by getting in front of audiences. And all too often, I find that people want to get paid to do something before they've earned the right to be paid for it. Right. And that's not to say that your first engagement can't be a paid engagement, but understand those who get paid on a regular basis are able to do so because they're able to demonstrate their skill. And so in the first few instances, even if you're brilliant, what you want to do is get on stages where you can get professional footage of you on the stage. And there's a handful of ways of doing that. One is that the event organizer is doing the footage anyway, and you make it part of the deal. I will tell you from experience that getting footage from event organizers, photographs are easier than video footage to get from event organizers. I have chased people for 2 or 3 months before footage has come through. Right. So even when they say they're getting it, which they are, you'll see somebody at the back with a camera. I always take my own camera, or I insist I'm coming along. I would like a free ticket. And that free ticket goes to a friend, AKA a roadie, whose role it is. It's not free for them. They have a job, okay? Their job is they're working. They get to absorb all of the content of the day, but in exchange, they have to take some video footage for me and a few photographs. And you don't need the whole thing videoed. Your show reel and so on and so forth is not that long. 30 seconds here, a couple of minutes there is sufficient, just so long as it's got the full thread of thought, because what you don't want is it being cut midway through you saying something, because it's just odd. Like, how do you cut that and then use it? So making sure that you're getting that video footage. And then the final point, and in some respects the most important, is you've got to put yourself out there. Like, if people don't know you're speaking, they're not even going to consider you. So you've got to get okay with putting your name out there and saying, I'm speaking. When you see an event pop up on Facebook, reaching out to the event organizer and saying, have you got all of your speakers booked? Sending cold emails, networking, whatever it takes to get on those stages, because there's a tipping point with this stuff. And it's the same way in business. You get to a point where people know you and now they follow you anyway. But until you get to that point, actually, it's a lot of grunt work in that initial phases, and you've got to leverage the content that you have. So when you do get on a stage, shout about it. Don't kind of get on the stage and then let it fizzle away. Like, say I was on stage, and put it everywhere. Send the videos out, then send the testimonials out, then do a throwback Thursday and send the videos out again, because you can, But you've got to make the most of really hustle to get on the stages. And then when you get on the stage, leverage the heck out of the footage and the opportunity that you had to use it to create the next opportunity. And too often I see people who are terrified of selling, throwing away a really easy opportunity to use an event that they've had to leverage themselves into the next event. And I think, you know, the emoji which slaps its face and like shakes its head?
Yep.
That's how I feel.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So, you know, we looking at where you are and looking at how far you become, who are the female speakers? Oh, I really have a problem with using that word female. It suggests some kind of subspecies. Yeah, sorry.
Or a fact.
That's my soapbox. Because we don't say male speakers. We say, you know, we just say speakers. And when we say that, we think about men. And then, you know, but we don't say women. Yeah, that's my soapbox. I'm going to hold that for a moment. But who are the women who speak that inspire you and have influenced you?
Oh, I am a huge fan of Oprah. I'm like, whoop, whoop, go Oprah. And I'm a huge fan of her for a number of different reasons. She didn't come from an affluent background. And so I think she speaks to women who, you know, who are really just starting from nothing and making it happen. As an African American, she, you know, would have had a different struggle in her time in terms of being noticed in any regard. So now she's got female and African American. So that was a struggle. And to take it from there to being one of the richest women in the world and being the go-to person that people are saying, if I get an Oprah stage, I know it's going to launch me. Yes. And it sounds really odd thinking of her as a speaker because she was a television host. But what I also love about her is she was an incredibly savvy and is an incredibly savvy businesswoman who knows how to use an opportunity to create another opportunity. And she's not waiting for somebody to give her something. She is striding forward and doing it for herself. And I think there's a lot we can learn from women like her with a really strong message. And there's no acting background or anything like that comes from it. And the other thing with Oprah is she was so authentic.
Yes.
You went on the journey with her. You were like, if she was upset, she cried. If she was happy, she laughed.
Yeah, Oprah didn't hold back. Oprah never held back. You know when she was happy. You know when she's sad, and she expresses all of that. And do you think that, you know, a lot of women are afraid to express their own voices, their true voices when they speak, when they show up?
I think sometimes I don't know who that voice is. And so there's a few different things going on. What I'm interested to do is find more and more female role models, which is part of the reason why we're putting on this female speaker conference, so that women can start to see more women on stages. So you have somebody to emulate, because at the moment, men are dominating the world-class stages for the most part. And so when you're looking at who do I look to in terms of speaking style, you're then emulating a male speaking style. And women do it differently. You know, it's not that women are any less powerful. We just present power slightly differently. Yeah. And so we need to kind of work out what that balance is. And so the more you know yourself as a person and the more comfortable you are in your skin, and the more you don't give a hoot about getting on a stage and making a whole audience wiggle their butts because you think it would be funny. Hey, I got to amuse myself. The easier it is and the more it's in flow. But it does take a little bit of courage the first couple of times when you're like, okay, I look like a right prat here. I'm standing on the stage and I'm wiggling my butt and people are looking at me and wondering what the heck I'm doing. But if I own it and I sell it, they're going to wiggle too and enjoy it.
Okay, so it's about, you know, one, giving yourself the permission to be totally present when you're speaking and being your full self, which then in turn gives the audience the same right to do so.
Yeah, and it's not just about giving the audience the right to do so. We have intuitive senses and we connect more with somebody who's just authentically themselves. So apart from the fact that it takes a lot more energy to be somebody you're not, fact, you're doing all of that and creating a disconnect with your audience in the process. So it's kind of like lose, 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 and I'm more for a win-win-win. So to me, it makes no sense.
Okay, all right. So We've looked at what inspires you. We looked at your reasons why you do what you do and what you do. Let me ask you this question. How do you personally bounce back from setbacks?
First, I acknowledge it's a setback. I come from a really strong family, and I have a lot of really strong female role models. And bless their cotton socks, in some respects, it really messes you up. And I say that with the deepest of respect because I love that strength. But the challenge with that strength is it has you run away from the hurt and the upset and the disappointment and the frustration that you feel, and has you brush that off too quick rather than just acknowledge it and be with it for a while. So my first step in any setback is first to just kind of be like, okay, I feel hurt. I feel disappointed. I think I screwed up. It's not the result that I wanted. I'm embarrassed, whatever it is, but own the whole thing and allow myself to feel all of that. So it's not, I'm not squashing it down. And then a mentor of mine always said, filter for the learnings. I can't do anything about what's happened. What's done is done. I can't change that. It's happened. But if I don't find some learning to take from that experience, it was a waste.
Right.
So when I then start to look at it and say, okay, this was sent here to tell me something. So even though it really hurt, I now know that I will be much more organized, or I find how I can own it. I should have made that phone call earlier instead of putting it off. And I knew I needed to have it in a contract. And I just thought that I would forgo my normal processes and let it go, whatever it is. And I sit down and I document those so that I'm really clear on, okay, this is what I've got from it. And then at that point, I choose to let it go because I've taken all from that setback that is useful for me going forward. And anything else is a distraction and it's not going to help my growth. It's happened. It's done. There's nothing I can do about it. But I now have a plan and some key learnings, which means that I'm less likely to fall into that trap again. Not that I won't have other setbacks, but I'm not likely to have a setback exactly like the one I just finished experiencing.
Okay. So that's how you deal with setbacks. And I think that's actually quite good because there's something about taking ownership, about saying it happened, acknowledge it, because there's too many times that we get to do that. Let's just sweep it under the rug and pretend it didn't happen.
Yeah, no good comes of that. It comes back later and does it like bigger. I've learned anytime I'm like, yeah, we're fine. What's the saying? Life whispers, and then it talks to you, and then it shouts at you, and then it knocks you over the head. I prefer to just stop at the whisper.
You're like, I'm good here. It's okay.
I gotcha.
So, you talk about being extremely busy, and one of the ways that you work through your business and life is by automation. What are your other ways of managing your time so that you can accomplish everything that you need?
There are a number of them. I would say, frustratingly for me, because I'm a doer, actually one of my key ones is I have to know when to stop, because I can just get in a mode of doing stuff and then I get stuck because I'm just in my head all the time. So I have to have regular breaks, like regular downtime. I need to have scheduled in time with friends, time with my husband, Lovelda time, which is just literally just time by myself. Do not ever disrupt Lovelda time. It will get you into trouble.
Oh, no. No one wants to disrupt that.
No, that's a bad idea. But I also have really, I have certain processes that I do daily that I know make a difference. So often what gets people into trouble with busyness is they're busy doing a lot of stuff on the assumption that everything that they're doing is of equal priority. Mm-hmm. Consciously or unconsciously, they've made this decision. And I say that because we have a list of things to do and we kind of start at the top and work our way down. Dumb idea, by the way. And the reason for that is a handful of the things on your list are things that if you do them are actually going to move your business forward. Okay. The rest of them aren't going to make that much of a difference. And so, for example, with emceeing, for me, one of the big things that I can do, if I do it regularly, prospect and contact brand new event organizers, I'm guaranteed I will regularly be on stage. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter what the color of my website is. It doesn't matter how many videos I've got and how beautifully edited they are. It doesn't matter if I have the perfect show reel. If I'm not contacting people, they're not just going to magically find me. Yeah. All of these other things are important. But if I'm going to say, what is the one thing that I can do in my business that means that everything else is easier or just not necessary, it's prospecting. And so I set 30 minutes aside every single day to deal with my prospecting so that it's a thread that constantly runs through my business. And so I look at a similar sort of process in other areas of my life where I have some core pillars that I stick to. With everything else, I schedule and time block. And when I time block, it's kind of like I'm going to take 4 hours. I'm going to work on building these landing pages or recording audio videos, and I'm not doing anything else for that time. And I get really focused on the activities that I'm doing that I know are important to moving my business across to the next stage. Mm-hmm. So for me, the easiest way of balancing it is a balance between lots of rest, lots of times to have rest and break and refresh myself, and then really getting quite strategic about the activities I choose to focus on. And that gets really uncomfortable because I like it when all of the dishes in my kitchen are clean, but sometimes a couple of dishes can be in the sink and I can be really efficient.
So focus on what's really important.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So you time block, you automate, and when you time block, the easiest way for people to start, should they start with an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours? What would you recommend to people who've never actually used any of these tools, how to get into it straight away?
I think we know ourselves well enough to know how long we can focus for. So when it came to prospecting, I noticed it was something that I was just avoiding. And half an hour to me is sufficient time that I felt like I did something, but not so much that I could put it off. An hour was like, oh, I need to schedule this. It's work. Whereas half an hour, 15 minutes just felt like I really wasn't paying it enough attention. So for me, the half an hour sweet spot was, okay, I definitely sat down and did something. And it's only half an hour. So sometimes I'm looking and I'm like, 10 minutes more. I can do 10 minutes. Come on, I can do 10 minutes. Anybody can do 10 minutes. So I think you've got to know yourself. And it also then depends on the task. So prospecting, I can go in and get quite a bit done in an hour period. When it comes to something more creative, like when I'm building member pages for my membership site or building out membership content, actually half an hour for me is I would just be getting into it and then I wouldn't get very far. So for those sorts of things, because I know how I work creatively, actually for those kind of activities, I'd probably block off more like 2 or 3 hours. And I'd put a break in the middle. So I might do like an hour and a half and then take 15-minute, half an hour break and go and do something so I can refresh my brain and then sit down for another hour and a half and put 3 hours in. And then I know that I'm going to get a decent amount of progress. So it is a combination of yourself and the task.
Okay, so that's fine. And speaking of all the tasks and the programs and everything that you're doing, you have one more thing that we haven't touched on, which is your brand new program called the Fast Track Booking. What's this program?
I'm so excited about it.
And who's it for?
I'm actually sat right up now. I'm like, okay then. So Fast Track Booking is designed for busy people who are serious about getting on stages. What it does is it takes the prospecting process, so the process of finding speaking engagements, and puts systemization and automation behind it so that you're really efficient at looking for gigs. It's basically the principle that I use that allows me to contact over 200 new event organizers every single month and not lose track of any of them.
Okay.
Because when you've got that many conversations going on at the same time, you do need to have some structure around it to make it happen. And so for those people who are like, okay, I really want to get on stages and I don't have a lot of time, but I'm really serious about it, which therefore means you need to contact more people. You can't be doing 5 people a week and think that you're going to get a huge amount of traction.
Yes.
You need to be doing more like 50 to 100, 200 people a week to really start to get some traction. And people don't answer your first email. They just don't. Rubbish. Sometimes they don't answer the second one or the third one. sometimes you're on email 4 before they come back and say, hey. And any good salesperson knows that it's about persistence. So if it's about persistence and it's about volume, and you don't have a lot of time, then you need fast track booking to help to put structure and automation so that you can focus on the bits that actually make the difference, rather than I need to send another follow-up email because it was 2 days ago and I've got 50 of those to send. It's to get you out of the process and more looking at systematically what are you saying in each of those conversations to move things forward.
Okay. All right. So when does this program start and how can people get on it? Because I do believe this is a very worthwhile program.
So the program officially starts on the 22nd of March, but it will be available. It launches on the 22nd of March. It's available after that. So to get onto the program, you would need to go to, in fact, we'll put the link in the notes because it's a little bit long, or find me on Twitter, Lovelda Vincenzi at Lovelda Vincenzi. Join the female speakers, world-class female speakers group, and just ask me about it. It's really that simple. But we'll put the link in the notes so you can just click on it from there.
All right, that's absolutely fine. We'll put that out there. And also, it will be on our webpage, on the Shine Out Loud page. We'll put it on your page as well when we put that up. And so people can find it, and we'll share this out for you as well.
Woohoo!
You are so welcome. I do believe that, from a very simple standpoint, if women want to get to do this, helping them get rid of their barriers by automating it and making it simpler to do, it sounds like a no-brainer.
It is. I mean, I take it steps further. So we look at how do you handle various different objections? How do you pitch? What do you put in that first email when they say, that's really interesting, tell me what you do? How do you pitch that? What do you say? Do you run to a friend and go, help? Can I call a friend, please? So we handle all of that stuff as well, and look at how you then start to send this out to a virtual assistant or a PA. So you don't even have to do the original prospecting. You can kind of deal with all of the responses and just take the bookings.
Okay. All right. So we'll be sharing that information. And, I think the first place is join the Facebook group. That's the first thing. It's not hard. It's, and it seems to be quite an inclusive and diverse group of women, and start from there. The program launches on the 22nd of March, and it's something that you should get behind. Now, Lovelda, we've been talking about different things, and we're coming to that point in the show where we do our So Loud moment of the week. Now, whenever anybody asks me, what is a So Loud moment, I go simply this. It's a celebration of a person, place, or thing that has made an impact in your life and the impact in others as well. So, what is your So Loud moment for this week?
Ooh, girl. Oh, girl. I'm going to take an example. Can I take an example of something that happened a few weeks ago? Is that cool?
Yes, that's absolutely fine.
Okay. So I'm going to link it back to speaking. I had somebody reach out to me about 5 days or so before they were doing their event, looking for an MC. And funnily enough, they didn't have any budget. And so for me, what was really interesting was the conversation that I had with them to work out and negotiate how to then strike a deal where they found budget to pay me to come and speak. And in that particular instance, the nature of the event was that we ended up with an upfront down payment. That's what I wanted to say. Mm-hmm. And then a commission-based structure for the remaining payment. And the reason why this to me was really exciting, and it's wow, is that I think often it's really simple to just look at negotiation as what is the price, what is the final number, mm-hmm. rather than starting to think a lot more broadly about how many cool and interesting ways you can negotiate to create a win-win and still get a deal when somebody says, I don't have any budget.
Right. So what did you do?
Oh, what did I do? Firstly, I asked them if they had any budget. So I didn't just assume when he was chatting away and telling me I was booked that it was happening and then turning up and kind of sheepishly asking. I asked the question up front, do you have any budget?
Right.
To which I got, we don't normally pay people, but I guess that's what you do. And I said, this is kind of my gig. I don't tend to turn up for free. It tends to be a paid for engagement. And then we got into a dialogue about, okay, how do we make this work? Because it's clear you'd like to have me. I would like to be there. So what number then starts to work? And I then got creative about how to make up the difference. So I reduced how much I asked for upfront, and then had the rest of the payment be based on, it was a personal development event where they were selling in the room. So the remaining payment was a percentage of the sales that were made on the day, which in part relates to how good of an MC I am, that I can keep everybody engaged and wanting to learn stuff to stay till the end to complete some of that sale.
Okay. So basically, yeah, we like that. So it's being able to look at things differently and ask the big questions. So I think that So Loud moment deserves this. Awesome. I like that So Loud moment. So I think the learning from that is always go back, look at the questions, look at what you're willing to take, look at how creative you can be, and don't be afraid to have that conversation.
Absolutely.
Okay, so let me ask you this. With everything you do, how do you take care of you? What's your self-care practice?
Oh, I have a lovely lady come and give me a massage once a month. I love her. She comes to my house and she does a massage once a month, and I take that day off. I have a really structured, it sounds really bad actually, I have a really structured regime with my husband where we have like date weekends, because we worked out that date night was just not long enough. So once a month we have a weekend, which is like couple weekend, and we're not allowed to book anything else during that period. And we, just get to hang out and spend time with each other. I have a quota of how many times a month I need to hang out with friends. And I'm now so much more aware of when I just need to take an afternoon off and not do anything. So for me, it's having that balance of, I'm a relationship person. I wouldn't be emceeing if I didn't like the company of people. So I need to have that kind of quality time with people. I need to have quality time with my husband. And then I also just need to have quality me time. So long baths, walks, going to the park, just doing stuff that I like doing for me. Or sometimes just laying in bed all day watching Netflix. Like, I make it okay for me to do that.
Don't forget the Judinator.
Oh, absolutely. I haven't watched it for a while, actually.
Oh, I cannot thank you enough for being on the show today. It's absolutely made my week. So, we are looking at all the things and all the things you have coming up and all the things that you're doing. If you can say on your journey so far and what's coming next, what do you see for yourself?
Oh, dear God, girl. I'm going to take on the big stage. So next steps for me, this female speaker conference is designed to be the first of many. And so we're looking to grow that as an annual event, like the go-to event every year. I want to empower as many female speakers as possible. So I'm launching the World Class Female Speakers Academy, and we're really focusing on the business of speaking, which means I need to be on a ton of stages being interviewed by celebrities. Oprah, I'm free. So that we can so that I can go out and impact as many people as possible. I fundamentally believe if we can have more women on stages, then we can have more women in leadership. And if we can have more women in leadership, then we can really start to transform the way that we all experience life.
Oh, wow. I like that. And I'll get my people to talk to Oprah's people. Let's see what we can make happen.
Yeah, hook me up.
Okay, we'll get that working out for you.
I'm serious.
Listen, I know you're serious. I just need to make a couple of calls. We'll see what she's doing. I know she's not interviewing as much these days, but we'll see. We'll see if we can.
But it's me.
I'm sure if she's busy, I'm sure there'll be somebody who will be free to interview you. I mean, I'm sure sitting down with Shonda Rhimes won't be too far of a stretch for you. So
I'm sure I can make some time.
Okay, all right, that's absolutely good to know. Oh, Lovelda, it's been such a joy having you on the show. And we're going to put this up and get people to interact. Now, the one thing that I want to take away, because we have your Twitter, we have the Facebook group. What about your own website? Where can people
that's
connect
Lovelda
you?
at lovelda.com. It is so easy to find. And then in a month or so, I'll be launching worldclassfemalespeakers.com. So that's up too.
Okay. All right. So you've heard it here. The World Female Speakers Academy is coming. The Fast Track Booking Program is coming. And the event on the 1st of June that celebrates and acknowledges female speakers, the Female Speakers Conference, is coming and all happening in London. So if you are out and about, pre-register for your tickets and join this event. So, Lovelda, it's been an absolute joy having you on the show.
I've had so much fun. This has been awesome.
Awesome. Thank you for being on the show. Guys, you know how we do. Join us same time, same place next week. If you're enjoying the show, give us some love in iTunes and give us a 5-star review. Join our Facebook group. We now have a Facebook group for the show, so you can throw in your questions in there and interact with our incredible guests. We're going to be making it that you can actually ask questions directly to the guests on the show and also leave comments as well. But leave us a 5-star review, stop by our website, and if there's anybody you would like to recommend for the show, drop us an email at letstalk@shineoutloud.tv. And I will speak and hear you next week. Thank you all. Bye.
You've been listening to The Shine Out Loud Show. If you want to connect with us or let us know what you thought of today's show, be sure to follow us on Twitter @Shine Out Show.